Like and subscribe right now, or else this will be in your bed tonight. r/ask Reddit by Planet Reddit. What's a horrifying fact a person could have lived happily not knowing? You are about 120x more likely to be killed by an immediate family member if you win the lottery. So if I win the lottery, I'll just have to kill all of my immediate family then. Starting with myself. When you pick up a severed head, always be sure to use 2 hands. This is because the weight of said head isn't perfectly distributed like it is with a bowling ball and therefore has a tendency to topple from one's hands if not handled correctly. The uck do you mean when? I'm a little drunk and this made me laugh so hard. If you die in the house, and no one is around to feed your pets, they start with your squishy parts, lips, eyes, ears and nose. That's comforting that they won't starve. I feel the same way. This would be my final act of service for my pets. When tarsiers, one of the smallest primates, get too stressed, they commit by repeatedly banging their head against a tree. Today I learned I'm a very big tarsier. Edit. 500 upvotes because I identify as a tiny monkey that looks like it drank 67 liters of espresso. Yet this one I knew from a friend. That shit is sad. Brain matter smells sweet. Can confirm. Smells like rotting fruit. Wait, seriously? When you go swimming in a lake or any untreated body of fresh water that does not have steady water flow, there is a small chance you will inhale an amoeba that will subsequently eat your brain and you will almost certainly die within the week. I mean, you are hundreds of times more likely to simply drown in that lake. Oh, thank God. Dogs like squeaky toys because they mimic the dying cries of their prey. Does the same reasoning apply to children as well? Yes, I've ran the test with my kids and it would seem that they actually prefer the screaming of the rats they're consuming more than the toys. If you're exposed to rabies, you will have absolutely no symptoms for months. Potentially, as soon as you start showing symptoms, you are going to die. There is nothing that can be done for you. Reminder to go to if you are bitten by any wild animal that can potentially carry it. Rabies is very nearly the worst way to go, and that's considering dying of starvation, fire, drowning, or jumping from an airplane. You go into delirium and a deep fear of water, and slowly die of lack of water as the virus bursts into your brain. Best case scenario, Milwaukee procedure, you end up brain dead. I would personally shoot myself if I was diagnosed with it. Edit. Point is, rabies is significantly scarier and worse than a few injections. Bats are particularly likely to pass it on. The post-exposure treatment is highly effective, but it only works before the virus reaches your brain. Rather than impregnating female bedbugs by more traditional routes, a male bedbug will puncture the abdomen of the female bedbug with their N. But how do they know they're puncturing a female and not a male? They don't. They often puncture and inseminate a male bedbug's abdomen. If you can't find a hole, make one. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Male otters are extremely sexually violent and aggressive. A significant number of female otters, otter pups, and baby seals, yes, baby seals, die from the trauma caused by, often forced, sexual encounters with male otters. Causes of death include, but are not limited to, drowning, internal perforation, and biting. Dolphins can also be pretty awful. They've been observed to participate in gang rape of female dolphins and, again, seals, poor seals. They're like the unconsenting living fleshlights of the ocean. Edit. Thanks for filling my inbox with disturbing and unpleasant facts about sea life sexcapades. Not quite what I wanted for Christmas. Living fleshlights of the ocean. I feel like this was originally the jellyfish until it got sick of that shit and became poisonous and electric. To himself, stick your D in me now BCH. Do it. It would be worth it just to see you do it, jellyfish. Probably. There's no certainty that the universe will not end in the next 10 seconds. $1,000 says it doesn't. $1,000? That sounds like uncertainty. The sun could have exploded 5 minutes ago, and we wouldn't know until 3 minutes time. It's been nearly an hour now. You're wrong. Yep, he's totally wrong. You could have an aneurysm in your brain right now waiting to explode and you'd never know. Your aorta can do the same thing if it's enlarged, in 90% plus of cases. The first sign of an enlarged aorta is that it ruptures and you die almost immediately. So, what's the second sign? A full-grown raccoon can fit inside your behind. I know it can. What about yours? And who discovered this? Every 60 seconds in Africa a minute passes. Together we can stop this. Please spread the word. Due to how your perception of time changes as you age, behindering you live a long life and for of old age, you've lived half your perceived lifespan by age 25. This is actually the comment that has made me the most uneasy. Wait, what? Please explain more. I may have just missed half my life. Statistically speaking, somebody you know personally and interact with on a daily basis is a pedophile. Not me, I just live around these really hot 9-year-olds. Any woman who has been 11 years old knows this to be true. This was told to me by a relative that works as a funeral director. Some parts of your body might start decaying a few days before you die. I can definitely confirm. I am a hospice nurse and I also did end-of-life care with geriatric patients for many years. You always recognize the smell and it never changes. I may be misremembering here, but is it usually feet first? I briefly worked in a nursing home and was part of caring for a guy who was on his way out. His toes first went black, then his feet, then he died. Someone mentioned the scent of death. I will never, ever forget that smell. Hundreds of toddlers in the US die every year from falling into septic pits and drowning. When I was 5 we used to go over to my mom's friend's house and there were these massive rednecks in this old behind house where the septic was broken and would run across the yard like a small creek between these two cement things with holes in the top. Anyway, her oldest daughter was about 8 and dropped her homework paper in it. I reached to grab it and fell right in. I have full memory of it. The hosing off and everything. Must be a shitty memory. Female spotted hyenas grow a pseudo-N, which is just a giant clitoris which they use to bend at dominance. Dog style. When the time comes to give birth, their birth canal goes through that giant clitoris because God is a hateful bastard. Imagine giving birth through an N. Imagine giving birth through a clitoris. Quite a lot of people who try to end their lives by jumping in front of a subway survive. Well, that makes sense considering you can't be run over by a sandwich shop. I had a job in a subway station in January. Spent 2 months there. Every 3 days someone jumped in front of the subway train. In 2 months, only one guy died on the spot. Thing is, when you stop a subway line, you get a ticket for each minute you prevented the line from moving. So that suicidal guy will get hit with a ticket of subway train repair cost, first responder cost, firefighter, police, subway special team, and a hefty stoppage ticket. It was crazy to hear the screams of people witnessing. A shark's V and behind are the same hole. As are all birds. Reptiles too, I believe. Tastabuds. In our intestines. We have them. Why do I not taste anything? You sure you don't and haven't just gotten used to tasting your own shit? But IDK. Kinda curious but haven't gotten around to investigating whether the feedback is processed in the same ways and location in the brain as taste as we know it. Also apparently it's testing sugar content, so not a full flavor profile. At some point in your life your parents picked you up, gave you a hug and set you down never to pick you up again. That's why you should work out, so you can lift your kids at any age. There are some diseases caused by prions, a type of infectious protein, for which there is no known cure. Prions accumulate in your brain and damage your nerve cells irreversibly, leading to seizures, loss of memory and speech, blindness, changes in personality and loss of mobility. They kill off brain cells and create little holes in your brain. Once symptoms start showing, most people die within a year. Some people are believed to have been infected by eating infected meat. Edit. To correct fact. It can be spread by surgical tools. The tools are sterilized between patients. But the process isn't enough to remove prions. If someone has a prion disease, we use disposable tools on them. If we know, since the disease takes a while to reach critical mass, we could be spreading the prions from one person to the next via sterilized tools until the first patient dies, and we think to check and inform others they might be infected. But there is no known cure, anyway, so you just need to wait and see. LPT, don't eat human brains. Just don't. Because of the cellular makeup of our eyes, we see better in low contrast light in the periphery of our vision. The way the cells work means they have a much lower activation. So in the dark or between very minute monochromatic differences, you will see better out of the corner of your eye than your central vision, which is more geared to complexity and color. So with that in mind, theoretically, if there was something you could make out in the corner of your eye but not visible when you look directly at it, it could really be there. Whilst this is true, please be sensible with this knowledge and remember our brains are hardwired to freak us out and pad out our senses. The vast majority of weird creepy things we see hear/feel are partially made up by our brains, and the things which aren't are nihilistically uninterested in us. Turns out, being paranoid was so advantageous to our rock-wilding ancestors that it's just kept breeding true, no matter how well we climbed the food chain. I mean, it has no real detriment. We occasionally look stupid because that hanging jacket in the corner of the room looks shady. Better be afraid of a jacket than not aware of a predator. Eyelash mites are real, and it's highly likely that you're hosting a colony of them right now. If so, they are covered with mascara. You must be a pretty security guy. At all times, we could be surrounded by fourth dimensional beings, but we just can't see or detect them in any way because we live in the third dimension. They could be observing and studying us at this very moment, and perhaps the reason why we haven't found any aliens yet is because they are fourth dimensional beings. Studying us, the ape is masturbating. Again. The only difference between us and fourth dimensional beings is they can move freely across space and time while we're limited to a particular location in relation to where we were previously and a particular time. Now, essentially, they would look like teleporting time travelers. We could still see them, past the fourth, though, you're right, we wouldn't be able to because they would be in a different universe entirely. Over 80 million types of bacteria can be exchanged in one kiss. At least I don't have to worry about that happening to me. Small brain, kiss me. Big brain, I'll exchange 80 million types of bacteria with me, baby. There could be a gamma ray burst coming for us and we wouldn't know until we all got literally obliterated from existence. Also, the universe is so large that not a single thing that anyone does will matter. Not a thing. Edit. Most people who disagree with me are technically correct. This is one of those mostly correct discussions. Thank you for the attention as well. I made this because I was scrolling through Ask Reddit for hours. Also, the universe is so large that not a single thing that anyone does will matter. Not a thing. Nonsense. I just baked a delicious cake. I find that comforting. Warning. Do not read this thread if you have weird paranoias and anxieties to begin with. Too late. Send help. Join our community Discord, link in description. You might have been born in a sea of semi-liquid diarrhea. Seems like I never left. There's a type of frog that can squirt blood from its eyes. I read that there's also one that will break its bones and force them through its skin so it has claws to fight off predators. That sounds infinitely worse than the blood thing. In the 60s there was an experiment to attempt to teach dolphins to comprehend English, even going as far as to attempt to teach it to speak English itself. The experiment went south when one of the people working on the experiment, Margaret Howe Lovett, started having sex with a dolphin named Peter, something she claims the dolphin initiated. At the same time of this, one of the other people involved, neurologist John C. Lilly, was given the go-ahead to start experimenting with LSD, and so decided to also use LSD on the dolphin. Due to a gigantic cut in funding, they were forced to move, and the dolphin was kept in horrible conditions, and taken away from his trainer/act buddy Margaret and so committed by drowning itself. Whoa, you're making it sound really weird. She was just jerking the dolphin off, not getting boned by him. Some animals, notably Tasmanian devils, have a cancer that can spread between the species through bodily fluid contact. Imagine that in humans. Edit. Accidentally wrote people instead of the species. Cancer caused by HPV is just a step away from that, in humans. When a brown recluse spider bites you, your skin will often start to rot around the bite. This is only in very rare cases and often with immunocompromised patients. Also, many pictures you see online are actually staph infections. The side effect of most bites is simply a hard welt that doesn't appear to heal well for weeks, where the skin necrotized. Anything worse and you can go get a shot from the walk-in to cure it. Most people in the southern US have been bitten by a brown recluse at least once and don't even know it. If someone falls from a building tall enough, then when they hit the ground their bones will crack and break under their weight, and their organs will explode. From Wikipedia, chick culling is the process of killing newly hatched chicks for which the intensive animal farming industry has no use. It occurs in all industrialized egg production, whether free range, organic, or battery cage, including that of the UK and US. Because male chickens do not lay eggs and only those on breeding programs are required to fertilize eggs, they are considered redundant to the egg-laying industries and are usually killed shortly after being sexed, which occurs after they hatch. Many methods of culling do not involve anesthetics and include cervical dislocation, asphyxiation by carbon dioxide, and maceration using a high-speed grinder. Asphyxiation is the primary method in the United Kingdom. 2. While maceration is the primary method in the United States. 3. By 2020, US producers expect to sex the eggs before they hatch, so male eggs can be culled. 3. 92% of koalas have marsupial syphilis that humans can contract via koala urine. I tell you, I've been working so hard to get that percentage up to 93, but I can only yuck so many koalas. Romberg's disease can cause all tissues of half your face to spontaneously shrink. This includes bone, etiology unknown, rheridisis or glink. Squirrels sometimes feed off of animal carcasses. Most animals will eat other animals. You can find videos of herbivores eating meat all over the internet. Like the video of a cow just swooping a baby chick in a single swoop. Fucking hardcore. Demodex folliculorum is a tiny insect that feeds on dead skin cells and oil. You probably have a couple dozen living in and on your eyelashes right now. Go to keep my homies well fed. Girls poop. This is factually incorrect. Not pretty girls. There is a small parasitic fish called a candiru that can swim up your end and latch on to eat it from the inside. Eating part is unconfirmed. It lives in the Amazon. Which fulfillment center? If you stay long enough in water, plus 10 days without getting out, your flesh will soften and eventually detach piece by piece. When a Brazilian wandering spider bites a male, it can deliver long, painful erections lasting hours on end. Edit. I know they are deadly, but yes, this can happen before death. The youngest person on record to ever give birth was 5 years old. Wikipedia.org link. That I shit in the trash can. Watching one man one jar and knowing that someone really did it. Diamond dust is a horrifying poison. When ingested, your body is unable to round off the sharp edges like it can with glass. It will cling to your insides. The muscle movements of your guts will scrape your insides. The dust particles will get pushed deeper and deeper until you die of internal bleeding. It takes months to die of this and you will be in immense pain. Once inside of you, there's nothing that can be done anymore. =. Please someone prove me wrong. I would gladly accept this as just being a myth. In a similar thread posted some months ago, someone brought up the fact that the government has pre-recorded broadcasts in cases of emergencies, including what to do if aliens attack. When you and your wife are white but your son looks Mexican and your wife goes to a Native American healer on the reg. There are billions of small mites, bacteria and dead cells on each inch of your skin, and you can't do anything to remove them. They'll always be here, just living their lives. They eat dead skin, bacteria. The government has been actively attempting to undermine the encryption that secures our entire internet infrastructure since 2001, so they can catch pedos. There are billions of people on the world, meaning that there are people who you won't even know exist. They will live their own independent lives without ever seeing or hearing about you, and you will live without ever knowing of their existence. So people might not get as freaked out thinking about space as I do. But I found out yesterday that there are sounds in space but we can't hear them because it's a vacuum. I googled space noises and there was like this vibrating sound that was apparently from the sun and it freaked me the yuck out. TLDR. There are sounds in space. We just can't hear them. NASA recorded them. Despite being adorable, sea otters can be little monsters. They will rape baby seals. The male sea otters will hold baby otters as hostage to get food. And apparently they will sometimes commit necrophilia. I was so mad when someone told me this. I was fine believing they were cute little creatures who would just float around on their backs and collect rocks. There is a biological weapon that consists in a virus that, if released, would utterly kill the entire human population, and presumably a ridiculously high percentage of all the living things on Earth. This massacre is just a slight mistake away from happening. I knew that already. I played Plague Inc. Burning to death doesn't hurt as bad as you think. You feel it at first, but then your nerves burn off and you don't feel anything. The USSR and the United States were the only two countries allowed to have smallpox samples, but after the USSR fell, it's entirely possible that samples were lost. No American born after 1972 is vaccinated for it. Humanity is constantly on the edge of being wiped out, whether it be from nukes or from the Yellowstone supervolcano. It could happen at any moment and there'd be nothing anybody can do about it. That a toothbrush left uncovered or not in a cabinet can accrue as many germs as a toilet, and a flushed toilet with the lid up releases germs into the air up to 15 feet. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for 3 videos a day.